Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
This is an invitation, one and all. Come back to Colón in the days of Judge Brian or Big Jimmy. They used to call Colón the windy city.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
Pasar del mundo en el corazón del universo, puede pasar su fin de semana en Palmas Feas o Playa Langosta.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
If you really want to have some fun, just come to Colón. You can play the Johnny Key, the best in Windy City.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
¡Ale! Nosotros los colonenses somos buena gente. El presidente también, él es colonense.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
This is the tune. Young and old must jump and shake bone. Deaf bound to hear, the dumb bound to talk. The motor footman is bound to walk.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
We need a little attention. I want you to understand. We from Colón, we always getting that con Colón.
Colón, 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 Colón.
Yes,
Vengan para Colón,
everybody.
Colón,
Colón, Colón.
tienes un poquitín más de atención.
Welcome, everybody. This is Rapping with Rapscallions. Let's see. We got to put Joe on here. There he is. My point five of the Rapscallions next to me, Lord Joe Mosquito. My name is HP2E. We're here, episode number 5050.
50.
We're talking about Colón City today. It's going to be a great show. So much to talk about. But first, the weekly Rapping with Rapscallions weekly wrap-up. Joe, what you got to say, boy?
Man, HB, so much to talk about, man. So much has happened this week. This week has felt eternal. It's felt like a really long week. It's hard to believe that we're already on the 20th of June, my friend. 20th of June.
Truth.
But truth, boy. Nevertheless, I must stress that this week has been pretty exciting in terms of football. As you guys know, last week we did a brilliant show on the Euro Cup 2020.
Oof,
why
lots of good predictions. Lots of good predictions there last week.
Indeed. And why is it still called 2020? Check out our show from last week, and you'll get the full explanation as to why it's called 2020. So, HB, other than the typical work stuff, which can sometimes be really stressful, I was glad I had a lot of football this week to keep my mind off of the stressful things and focused on the more positive things in life, like enjoying oneself. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. Being mindful, being thankful. Being thankful.
Beautiful.
So we had a really bunch of exciting games this week, my friend. The first one I gotta mention, without a shadow of a doubt. So Italy's doing really well. I have so many things to talk about. So first, I'm going to start off with the obvious, the elephant in the room. Italy's doing really well. One of my main team that I'm supporting in the Euro Cup, man. I couldn't have asked for a better start, to be honest. the first 2 matches, they won 3-0. Today, they beat Wales 1-0. Fantastic. It's amazing. I think everybody who supports Italy knows that you suffer. You always suffer. Supporting Italy is suffering. So, hey, the first match against, I want to say the Czech Republic, but it wasn't. The first match was against, who was the first match against?
I don't remember. My head's filled with Colón Tings. Boy.
Colón Tings. Anyways, man, Italy's doing really well, so I'm really happy about that. I'm also supporting Scotland in the Euros. Man, they played the Czech Republic in their first game, and that was insane because Scotland, you could tell they've been away from major international tournaments for 23 years, man, because you could tell they were super excited when they started off on the front foot. Boom, 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 boom. But then the Czech Republic got them. And Patrick Schick from the Czech Republic scored what will probably be the goal of the tournament, man. He caught David Marshall off his line. He got the ball just after the halfway line, curled in a wonderful shot. If you haven't seen it, check the highlights because that goal was phenomenal.
Beautiful, exciting.
Beautiful. So that's going really well. So, it's a really exciting tournament. Copa America also started HB. As I told you earlier, I haven't really been following it much myself.
I know, suspects go.
Usual suspects, Brazil, Argentina.
Brazil and Colombia, number 2 in Group A. And then Argentina and was it Chile in Group B?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And then you always got Uruguay that's always in the mix. And, Panama played, dude. Panama played on Tuesday. Was it on Tuesday?
I missed it.
Panama tied Curaçao 0-0.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, it feels like it was ages ago, decades ago.
It does. This week was very event-filled, man.
It was.
And the games have been fun. Sweden, look, if you guys want to go, you need to go check out our predictions. I predicted Italy was going to do well, but I'm going for Sweden because my heritage.
Let me tell you something. Sweden is topping their group right now.
Yep.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And Germany's looking very strong. They just had that initial oopsie daisy with France, which just put anyway.
They spanked the crap out of Portugal.
Oh, that was wonderful.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic.
I have a new lady in my life, Joe. I just want to tell you.
Oh, what?
She's a very beautiful lady.
Her eyes
will make you melt. Look, right here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
This is a new lady in my life. She came into our life today. We've been preparing all week.
She's look at her. She's giving you kisses.
She's such a sweetheart.
Puppy kisses.
Puppy kisses. She's a rescue. And it's called Animal Rescue of Anton. We'll put some links in there. They're in dire need of donations. So that they can start spaying and neutering. They have so many animals abandoned. So check out their Instagram. It's Animal Rescue of Anton, all one word. And they have a GoFundMe, a little $5 here, maybe $10 there.
Right.
Need that help with spaying and neutering. You want to go down now? She wants to look for mommy. She's like, I'm tired of the spotlight. There you go.
She's humble.
She's such a beautiful dog.
She's humble. That's good, man. Hey, I don't think people realize how important it is to support these organizations that care for all of these animals, man. I mean, how many animals need homes? How many animals need care in the world, in our country? It's super important.
Right, and spaying and neutering helps with animals not being overpopulated. Anyway, that's a different topic for another day. Please spay and neuter your animals. If you don't want to have a pup, or maybe you have too many animals, help out. Throw a coffee at Starbucks costs $5.
Cinco palos.
Esa vaina, so you can help out the beautiful little doggies here.
Cinco palitos.
Yeah, palito.
every time I hear about spaying and neutering, I think of Bob Barker.
Bob Barker, that's right. That's right.
He was a huge advocate for spaying and neutering pets. People.
It was a great cause. All right, I'm so excited. We have so much to talk about, and the research for this was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, so much information, dude.
I want to give a huge shout out to Franz Kuo because I love chatting with him because just someone to bounce historical ideas on. And the byline for today's show is essentially, I just ripped off one of his WhatsApps. He sent me a great message, and I was like, you know what? We're going to do Colón. I talked to Joe. Joe was down for Colón, and he helped us. He helped bird dog us in the right direction. So shout out to Franz Quo.
Shout out to Franz. Woo.
Let's get started. Let's do a little transition here.
Dude. Speaking of historical things, if I may cut in for 1 second.
Absolutely.
We have had an amazing take-up for our virtual tour of the Teatro Nacional.
Yes.
So you guys that are listening, you guys and girls, you people that are listening, if you would like to participate in the tour, the virtual tour that we're gonna be setting up the Teatro Nacional, there is a post on our Instagrams and also on our Facebooks. Look for it and just leave a message on there, and we will be in touch because we're setting that up. We got a couple more people interested yesterday. So, I mean, it's a full-on production. It's going to be incredible. If you haven't been to the Teatro Nacional in years, or if you've just never been in your life, this is a great opportunity to learn about this historic location. Yeah, so please.
Scroll down and watch our episode about the Teatro Nacional. It was so much fun. And it'll be a Zoom tour. It'll be during working hours, during the week. There will be 7 people. The host, Cesar, will walk around the theater, and then they'll have lights and music, and it's all synchronized. So
it's a whole production.
It's
people.
A show.
It's a show. It's an hour and a half. You're going to be so entertained. And believe me, HB and I have both done a tour of the Teatro Nacional since it was renovated. All the changes they've made, man, you learn so much.
I'm absolutely, I was in love with it just being a theater hound, but after doing the tour, my love for it has grown tenfold, just knowing the history behind the different paintings and whatnot. All right, Joe, how do we get started with the wonderful topic of Colón?
Well, I'm going to start it off by saying Michelle Quo on Instagram says, Franz Quo, that puppy. So she's happy. We're happy. Everyone's happy.
Both Franz and Michelle have signed up for the tour. Let's see. Jessica Staha signed up. I know we have a few other people.
Our man Chechi
signed up.
Our brother Chechi, he signed up, man. Hey, it's going to be an amazing event, and you're going to be doing it with the Rapscallions. Who else would you want to tour?
Exactly. Look who just tuned in. Hugo Cabrera. Juice is here, and he's like, y'all talking about Colón? Your timing is perfect. We're just about to get started. And please, if we gloss over something, and you're a Colón boy, man, you got to let us know. And here's our disclaimer. Let's do the disclaimer, Joe. We're not experts. We're here. We've taken up a new moniker. We call it Laughing and Learning.
LNL, people.
LNL.
L and L. Laughing and Learning.
Yeah, we just want to pique your interest so that you go out and do your own research. And there's so much about Colón. If you heard the intro song, it's one of my favorite Calypso songs by Lord Cobra. He's like, if you want to have some fun, come to Colón.
Yo, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Colón is a fun place. And I guess the best way to start off talking about Colón, my friend, HB, my brother, is like our own experiences with Colón. I know you have a huge knowledge of Colón about your own personal experiences, man. Yeah. So why don't you tell the people about your experiences in Colón, man? Mine are very little. So I'll tell you those later. But I want to hear yours.
Both my parents were born in Colón. And they were born in Colón. My grandmother, in the province of Colón. My grandmother was born in Culebra, which is in Colón. So she's like original Colonense. My father and mother were born in the naval base there. It's escaping me right now. I'm just overwhelmed, but it's okay.
It's okay. Just breathe. Be in the moment, man.
In the moment.
Be mindful.
Some of my favorite stories, my dad, I always asked him, I was like, Dad, how come your Spanish is so horrible? He's like, nobody in Colón, in my era, nobody in Colón spoke Spanish. He speaks like a Colonense.
Right.
So when I was a kid, we were in Panama City and Coco Solo. Thank you, Juice. Thank you. Oh.
Juice.
And France too. Thanks, guys. So this was the era of dictadura, So anytime you get stopped by a cop, you're just a little wary. And my dad was a retired Canal Zone police officer. So we're in Via Brasil and Transísmica, and we're pulling out of a store, and he pulls out and gets into traffic, and a tránsito comes over to him and is like, boleto. And my dad, with his gringo, patois, Spanish weirdness, he's like, ¿Cómo es que tú estás hablando? Es que no pintura on the calle, man. You say, no me da tiquete para eso. I said, no, yo policía, tú no da tiquete si no pintura, no señal. And the guy goes, licencia y papeles, boleto. I said, no, yo soy policía, no. And so they started arguing. And so finally my dad's like, he's a disgruntled. He hands his license to the guy. And the guy looks at him, he's like, ¿Tú eres colorense? He said, yes, I'm Colomboy. And the cop demeanor changed like this. He was like this. I'm Colomboy too. And then they started this thing. I couldn't understand it. I was born in the capital, you know?
Right.
So I can get by. I have a little bit of ear for the pata. They started this thing, and then they were best friends. And the guy's like, go. And it was just an amazing interaction there. So I just wanted to start off with that story because Colón is such a special place, not only the city, but the province, that the Colonenses are like this. You have C3, you know?
No doubt. C3.
So we want to start with some of the special things in Colón. And what's more special than food? The byline for the show today was, Colón was started by a U.S. railroad company. It was the jewel of the Caribbean. It was the last stop before South America in the golden age of Colón. And it was a place where the West Indian or Afro-Caribbean culture thrived. And I want to add to that also Chinese culture and Indian culture that came over for construction. So what can we start with? Plantain tart?
Plantain tart, man. Plantain tart. You can't go wrong with a plantain tart, man.
Yeah.
You cannot go wrong with a plantain tart. It's like the sweetness of the plátano in the empanada shape. Why? Oh.
It's funny how, since the zone era is becoming a forgotten time, the things the words are becoming more Spanish, so it's plantinta or plantinta or something like that. And I was like, what is a plata? What? Platita. Remember in 1903, there was, a plantain tart. Oh, yeah, I know that.
Oh, I enjoy the plantain tart very much.
Yes, plantain tarts are delicious. And what else? We have pan bon, which is like saying bread. Pan bon.
Bread.
That's a Jamaican buns made with molasses. But the thing that makes it special in Colón is you soak the fruits in rum. And it has to be for like 10 years or something. Something ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, man. You
something special.
Dig a hole in your backyard. You put it in there, and then you
use Captain Morgan's barrel and put the spices in there or something like that. I don't know. The Colonenses know that. Goodness. They know all that stuff. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you can't go wrong with the arroz con coco, my friend.
Oof. Oh, arroz con
coconut rice.
I'm not a big rice fan, but when I have rice, arroz con coco. Like when I go to Colón, I get like the pulpo al Caribe. And then you have the coconut rice and you get the juice. You mix it up. So good.
Delicious, man. Delicious. Pescado frito con patacones.
Pescado frito, patacones. Delicious. Also, one my dad, I never forget, is isinglass.
Yo, that is I'd actually never tried that until you gave me some way back when.
Yeah. It was before one of the shows. There's a friend of mine. He comes through the streets with a cooler. He at the top. You can hear him from 10 miles away. He's like, isinglass, ginger beer. So what that is it's a seaweed and it's very nutritious. In fact, isinglass is known as an aphrodisiac, el levanta muertos. I did some research on that because I always wanted to make it. They always make it too sweet for me. And it's made out of seaweed, which is super nutritious. It's one of the things that got the Irish people through the famine. They were eating that. And from that point on, the actual seaweed. You cook seaweed. So, in Caribbean tradition, they take stuff and they find the most delicious way to prepare it. So the isinglass has the algas, the seaweeds. You have your nutmeg and allspice. You can use fish bladder if you're original.
You're OG.
Juice is like, it is makes you strong. Parao, parao.
But man, that explains why I was so excited during that show.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
This guy was levitating, man.
I was
got sweet milk in it, spices. So it's got all the nutrition that a young Colonense needs. What else? What else can we talk about in Colón? Not proud of it, but Danny Norman took me on a tour of the expansion, and he's like, "Hey, man, you want to go get some Colonense?" Yeah. So we had sea turtle. Man.
Oh man.
So delicious.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's so good. But Shuso, you're not supposed to be eating that stuff. It's endangered species. So
no. Hey, let me ask you a question, HB, because I came across something I didn't really understand what it was. So maybe you as a Colón boy.
Yeah, well, second generation
removed. Colón boy, or some of the Colón boys that are listening can tell me, what is Johnny cake?
Johnny cake.
Johnny cake.
What is that? I want Juice to chime in on that one.
What is that? I've never heard of that in my life.
And there's different ways to pronounce Colón. You have, in Spanish, it's Colón with a tilde. You're Colón.
Colón.
And then Zonians are like Cologne, like
Cologne. I put on my cologne every morning.
But a Colonense in English, they say Colón.
Colón.
Colón. So, Johnny cakes. I don't know what a Johnny cake is, man.
What?
Those are little sweets.
What? All right. Well, until somebody comes in and tells us differently, I'm going to believe that a Johnny cake is the following: pan de coco.
Could be.
Pan de coco. That's what the internet says it is. So until somebody tells me something different, I'm going to believe that a Johnny cake is pan de coco. And
I got to that era too late, man, because I get pan de coco. I guess why I call it pan de coco. That's what we went to.
Maybe.
Went to Portobello a few weeks ago. We had to dip ourselves in after the pandemic. Things were opened up. We went to the Caribbean and dipped ourselves in that water to, get the Pacific stench off of us.
No doubt. Hey, man. So I guess when I dip, you dip, we dip. As the saying goes.
All right. What are some other treats? Let's see. I think patties. Beef patties is just a Jamaican empanada. Very delicious. The spices are a little different.
Uh-huh.
It's not really.
What about have you had un enyucado? I've never had an enyucado. It looks delicious.
I don't know. I probably had it by another name. I don't know.
It looks like a flan type of dish. It says that its principal ingredients are cocoa y yuca.
Yeah. Juice is saying escoviche.
Escoviche, what is that, man? I've never had that.
Oh, what's the soup that has there's a soup and then it has the fried fish on top?
Sao.
No, that's the pig knuckles. Anyway, I can't remember.
Hey, man, chime in if you know, because we need to know what's all this delicious food.
It's like you have the fish soup at the bottom, and then it's got the plátano.
Levanta muerto.
I can't remember the name of it. Escoviche is it's like a pickled fried fish, no? Jamaican Scotch bonnet pepper, snapper fillet, green bell peppers in like a vinegar sauce.
Well, that sounds amazing.
Oh, all this food's making me hungry.
It's making me super hungry, man. And then, of course, you also have, you have dumplings as well.
Dumplings, and then you have
carimañolas.
Fufu, that's what, mashed plantains, right?
I think so. Man, I think it feels to me that Colón mixes all the most delicious foods of Panama in a single location.
I think so too.
A single location.
That heavy influence from the Caribbean, gotta love it.
For sure, man. Who doesn't love Caribbean type cooking?
So my dad, he introduced me to. My memory's off today. It's a fruit. It's poisonous, but then it looks like fried eggs.
Manzanillo.
No, not that one. Oh, and then you have cod cakes, man. You have the bacalao.
Cod cakes. You can't go wrong with that, man. What's going on with us, man? We're just like glossing over these amazing, delicious treats, man. Hey, what are you people's favorite treats? Your favorite foods? If you're in Colón for a day, what would you eat? We want to know because we might go to Colón one day and I'll be like, yo, Juice said I need to eat this.
We can eat everything.
Yeah, Juice said eat everything. I'll be like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. Rapscallions, if anything, our word is bond.
That's
so
right.
If we say we'll eat everything.
Aquí, that's the one I couldn't remember. You eat that with cod.
Cod.
Viene aguacero. Colón heard that I was talking about it and sent me the rain.
Sent the rain.
All right, so some other things that we can point out are some notable people that visited Colón over the years. Colonel Sanders went to Colón.
Huh? No way, man. Yeah. Colonel Sanders, is that we came up with a secret recipe?
Okay, he opened I think Panama was the first overseas KFC. And of course, he visited the canal. That's a famous picture. We got Charles Lindbergh came to Colón. The famously titled Campo Lindbergh to this day is known for his visit. See who else? Einstein. There's a picture of Albert Einstein in Colón from 1930s.
What was he doing in Colón?
He was coming to visit the canal. It was I mean, you know, right now when you travel overseas and you say the Panama Canal, there might be some people that haven't heard of it. But back in the day, the canal was very, very, very popular.
Word?
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. Here we go. John McCain was born in Cocosolo. Down the hall from my dad, man.
Colonense, boy.
That's right. And they because of that, they were trying to dispute his citizenship and whether he was able to run for office.
Oh, man, I tell you, man, people be tripping. Hey, you know who else was born in Colón, my friend? Irving Saladino.
That's
2008 Olympic gold medalist.
Canguro.
First gold medal of the country, man. Cetres.
And what about, we were talking about the boxers. When our sports greats of Panama, we spoke about several of the boxers.
Yes.
The flyweight, the greatest flyweight, and one of the greatest flyweights in the history of boxing is actually
Celestino Caballero.
That's current time. Celestino's an amazing boxer.
Back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day. He was the first.
Panama Al Brown.
Al Brown, that's it.
Panama Al Brown, Alfonso Panama Al Brown. How special for you to have that. Like, imagine, HB, if you were such an influential figure that people were to call you HB Panama Tui.
Yeah, Panama Tui.
Panama Tui.
That'd be pretty cool. Oh, Ismael Laguna, too.
Ismael Laguna, no doubt, no doubt.
And my goodness, the list goes on for all the musical artists.
Indeed, man. And you also got famous football players like Julio de Valdez, Jorge de Valdez.
There you go.
Man, you also got an NBA player, Gary Forbes, played for the Houston Rockets, Toronto Raptors. Ridiculous, man.
I think Rod Carew, he was actually born on the train, but he was from Paraiso, I believe.
Man, he was born on the train, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So many important people.
Some more obscure. Marcus Garvey visited Colón and set up a newspaper there, La Prensa. I think that was in the 1920s. If you don't know who he is, then you might know this passage. We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, for though others may free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is our only ruler, sovereign. So, a great African leader. He pushed for self-education.
No, and that quote, man, just incredible with him. I think, especially considering the times that we're living in now, where people are saying just how important the mind is, to be aware of that, of the limitations that we place within ourselves.
That's right.
In our mind. You know, now people are just kind of like, oh yeah, the mind, you know, be mindful, your mind. And it's really, really funny because, you know, just hearing this Marcus Garvey quote about the mind and everything, I saw a quote this morning, which supposedly The Rock said, and he said that he didn't hate anyone. You know, he said he didn't hate anyone, no matter how mean they were, because the way they acted was probably something that represented something that was wrong with them in their minds.
True. Something that they held on to in their mind.
Some insecurity, something, man. So, hey, the mind is a powerful weapon.
Indeed.
And you got to use it positively.
Going on with legends of Colón, probably one of the most internationally famous legends was during the times of Prohibition. You had Max Bilgray's Tropic Bar and Cabaret. There was a golden period of Colón where everything was splendor.
Right?
The one magazine article was it had a big boat and a big plane on it, and it showed, like, in Indiana Jones where it has the little red line stopping in every place. This thing had a big thing. It's the last stop before Rio. I'll never forget that.
The last stop before Rio, man.
Yeah. So that's
how exotic.
The golden era of Colón. And another thing that I didn't mention was that my great grandfather had a business there. My grandmother was born in Culebra,
right?
And he was worker for the canal, and he went up to them. He's like, I got this great business idea. He went up to the people in the canal. They're like, no, we're gonna do that. So he eventually went up to Congress. It's like, we got to start this business. And they're like, his name was John J. Jackson. They're like, hey, Jackson, if you think this is such a good idea, why don't you do it yourself? He's like, all right.
Well, all right.
So what he did is, on Front Street, he opened Jackson's Steam Laundry. It was right by the terminus of the railroad. So the railroad ends here, and then now there's a big yellow tenement there. But he had his steam laundry there.
Boom.
And what he would do is, the ships would come into the canal. He would take their laundry, steam it, fold it, put the truck on the train, and then when the ship gets through the canal, the truck would come off and deliver the laundry. Made millions.
Dude, that's emprendimiento.
Yeah, that's right, emprendimiento. Very successful. And that's going to come back around, because the next person I want to talk about is Max Bilgray from the Tropic Bar and Cabaret.
That sounds like a fun place to visit, man.
Yeah. And there's also Bilgray's Gardens. So we're in the times of Prohibition. And mind you, Panama didn't have the laws of the United States, of course not, but the Canal Zone did. So you had people visiting Panama, and they say, hey, I want to have a drink. All they had to do was step across the road, and there's no prohibition. You know what I'm saying?
It was all the fun.
So this guy, Bilgray, is this famous prohibitionist. Her name was Amy Semple McPherson. She was like, praise God, big Bible thumper type person.
Super conservative, I guess, right?
Super conservative. So this guy, Bilgray, what he did, and nobody knows if it's true or not, but he says that she came in, and he's like, I have a special drink called the Hallelujah. And she's like, I'll have one. And he got her drunk. So what he did is he sent out postcards to everywhere in the world, just sent out postcards paying the postage with the recipe for that drink.
The Hallelujah.
The Hallelujah. I had a page
open
with
it?
that.
You have the recipe?
Yeah, here it is. Here we go. It's Babylon Grape Brandy, which is cognac.
Okay.
And ice from the crest of Mount Sinai, lots of finely cracked. And then lemon.
I have that in my refrigerator.
Yeah. We should make this for the next show. Lemon from the desert of sin. That's lime juice, 4 drops. And then Gomorrah and Sodom vermouth. That's 1 jigger, which is a shot and a half, an ounce and a half. And then you have rum aged in Noah's Ark. It's half a jigger. It says rye also used. And add cane syrup from the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
And then it says you give it the Hebrew shake and pop a cherry on top. Say hallelujah after drinking. Now it sounds like a weird list of ingredients, right? But if you look at the first letters of all those ingredients, it says Bilgray's.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So man, he thought really highly of himself.
He did. Ralphie Furlong's tuned in. He says Amy McPherson, the Scientologist. I don't think Scientology was started yet, but
or maybe she started it, but she didn't tell anyone.
As L. Ron Hubbard, I think, was in the 60s or something. But we got to make this drink, man. Sounds like fun.
We do. I think it sounds amazing, man. My experiences of Colón, my friend, Colón are very different. I didn't really come to know much about Colón until Cayuco, when I did the Cayuco race, because of course for the Cayuco race you have to go to Colón. And so this must have been like, because of course, very young, I moved away from Panama, and then I came back, and then I was living in Chiriquí, and then I came to the city. And then when I was in the city, I was doing the Cayuco races, and then we had to go to Colón to practice. There were two things I knew about Colón. The free zone was there, and it was dangerous.
Yeah.
Full stop. That was what was told to me. So then, of course, when I started going more for Cayuco, I was like, hey, this is pretty nice. You know, it's not that bad. But then people would always be like, no way, man, go to Colón, you want to die. So I was like, okay. And then, of course, as an adult, you know, we had fun there doing the Cayuco races. All the kids that go to Cayuco, to Colón, do the Lago Gatún and all the first stretch of Cristobal and all those things. You have a great time. And you're like, man, it's not so bad. Why are people telling me Colón is like the place I'm going to come meet meet my own death? But I didn't die because I'm still here.
You survived
Colón. And then as an adult, then growing up, of course, I went there more often, you know, to different places. And then my dad loves Colón. And so my dad's a doctor. So he attended people in Colón for years and years and years and years. And that was one of the reasons why we lived in Las Cumbres, because it was closer for him to get to Colón from Las Cumbres. So then he would go to Colón every morning and then come back into the city. And so he was always like, yeah, Colón, man, Colón's great. So then now I'm just like, man, why were people telling me all these jive turkeys, man, trying to kill my vibe? Back in the day, they were just like, Colón is so dangerous.
I mean, you still get that vibe from like Panamanians, where it's like, oh, Casco Viejo is so dangerous, you know. So it gets a little bit of infamy, but
yeah, man. And then I think it really kind of sucks though, because, you know, and we're going to talk about this later about the train and everything, but, you know, I think, you know, at least here in Panama, in Corozal, you have your train station, right? And you go there, you take the train, whatever, gift shop, all that crap. But then when you get to Colón, it's just a platform.
Indeed.
And then you're like, why can't we have a nice station in Colón, man?
Oh, don't get me started. Those piers there are also the southern terminus of Carnival Cruise Lines, which is huge.
Yeah.
You know, you have the canal, and, you know, what the heck is the government doing? Not building up Colón. They kind of get half started and just never happens. But let's not dwell on that.
That is not, because today we're talking about positive things.
I want to tell another story. Is my great grandfather had Jackson Steam Laundry, and he was making lots of money. He had concessions with the Navy, which was always coming through. So he would press those whites and get them back to the Navy ships. So the stock market crash of 29 happened, and he was the only one with cash on hand. So he was in Bill Gray's Gardens. He was in Bill Gray's Gardens.
Right.
And they're playing poker, but there's a cash shortage. So they're playing poker, and the last two at the table was him and Max Bill Gray, J. Jackson and Max Bill Gray. They're playing cards, and Bill Gray doesn't have enough cash, so he takes his tie pin out. It's an eagle's claw with a diamond in it, and he puts it on the stack.
That sounds fancy, dog.
Yeah, this is like a scene out of a movie. John Jay puts his cards down. He wins the hand, and my family acquired that piece of jewelry. And then when my dad wanted to get married to my mom, who was also Colonense, by way of San Andres, the island of San Andres, he goes to my grandmother and he's like, I want to marry this Colón girl. And my grandma's like, hey, wait. She says, wait here. She goes to her jewelry chest and she pulls out the diamond in the eagle's claw. And she's like, use this diamond to marry Carol Tui. So they got married. When my mom passed away, before she passed away, she took her ring off. And she said, when you find the right girl, use this ring. So my wife now, I proposed to her and I had that ring in my pocket, a big lump in my throat. I asked her to marry me and she said yes. And I slid the ring on and it fit perfectly. We didn't have to adjust it, nothing.
It's beautiful.
It has that same diamond in it that John J. Jackson won from Max Bill Gray and Bill Gray's Gardens in Colón City.
Ah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And look at you. Now you got a beautiful puppy. And you got a beautiful wife. It's like, so your grandma knew.
She knew. She had so many great stories from Colón. We're going to get
Yeah,
into some
man.
of those stories as we go through the history. Should we start off? I mean, we can't talk about Colón without talking about some past histories of Panama. Should we get started that way, dude?
Yeah, let's get started on that, man. Because I think if there's one thing that always amazes me every time we prepare for a show, is how much stuff has happened here throughout the years for a country of our size.
Yeah.
That if you ask, you could ask so many people in the world, like, hey, Panama, you know where it is? They'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So much stuff has happened here.
Yeah.
And particularly with Colón, I was amazed just to see how it has developed throughout the years. So I definitely think it's super worthwhile for us to kick off at the very beginning, my friend.
All right. So I like starting every story with the formation of Panama because it is the most important geological event in the past 15 million years. You separated two oceans, you changed the weather of the whole world.
True.
And that's the first time in Panama rose up out of the ocean, volcanic events. So
dude,
that's
take us on a journey.
The first time, Joe, that Panama influenced the world, which it has done many, many times.
I know, man. I think all of us should be proud to live in this country that has played such a key role in the development of the world, as we know it.
Yeah. And it's also ironic to me that it was open before and geology over millions of years closed it. And we're like, hey, we definitely need to dig this back up.
Yeah. We need to open it. We need to open it again.
All this dirt that took 15 million years to push up out of the ocean, we're just going to get rid of it. We don't want it anymore.
Geology doesn't know. Who's geology to tell us what to do, what we can't do?
So to paint a picture, to set the stage, Colón, relatively new if we're looking at like Western European history. Of course, I'm sure the native Indians of Panama knew about it, but of course, we know about the Spaniards coming to Panama and discovering the South Sea, which is the Pacific. So they had set up different forts on the Atlantic coast, the Caribbean coast. There was originally Nombre de Dios. There were some others, but these are the main ones that survived throughout time.
Right.
Nombre de Dios in Portobello. So that's the Camino Real. Gold and silver would come out of Peru, stop in Panama City, which was Old Panama, cross the Camino Real, and go either to Nombre de Dios or Portobello. And later on, Espinosa, I'm probably going to mess up his name. Anyway, he decided to start the Camino de Cruces, which was much easier because you'd go by foot on a paved cobblestone. That's why they called it de Cruces, because you saw crosses, not because it crossed the isthmus, but because the cobblestones make it look like crosses or X's in the floor.
All right.
And then they would get to Las Cruces, which is on or around Gamboa. And then they would float the gold and silver down the Chagres River, which seems to me to be a lot easier than carrying all that crap.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure. That must have been heavy, man.
Yeah, mules and mules. You have estimates for that, and it was just tons and tons of gold and silver being transported every day.
Yeah.
So that was in Fort San Lorenzo, which is right on the mouth of the Chagres. So
that's right, which you can still visit today.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive. If you can,
beautiful,
go check it out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic place to stop by and kind of just imagine all the things that happened there, everything that was going on. I think we've gotten so comfortable in our lives today, man, that I don't think could you imagine if you were to tell someone like, hey, I need to transport all this gold and silver and stuff on some mules and then put it on this river, and no, man, they'd be like,
no.
I don't want to do that, man.
Yeah. There was recently a Panamanian official who was helping some guys with their gold bars. Some Mexican guys carry gold bars. Did you read about that?
No.
She just took them.
She took them. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a.
What's the name
I'm gonna
of
keep that to myself.
lady of the Asamblea who screams and yells all the time?
Sulay.
Sulay, yeah, she just took their gold. She's like, te voy a ayudar. Pa mí. She just took it.
Wow.
So
hey,
finally Panama gets to keep some gold bars.
Finally, man. So much gold passed through here.
Yeah.
I think it was owed to us.
So just to get back to history, Colón didn't even exist. So to fast forward a little bit, the French had asked for a railroad concession in 1838. They couldn't
Right.
find the funding, which is kind of cool because it seems like the French tried it, but they couldn't seem to get it done. And then the gringos came and piggybacked on their ideas and got it done. So
So there's always been this sort of thing between the French and the Americans, just like, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. And then the French are like, I will do it. They're like, oh, no, I can't. And then the Americans are like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Arnold Ferguson's tuned in. He's like, Ras, guest Colón viewer Hugo Cabrera, Wapin. Just like you said, France was in a huge upswing of progress. They had the Suez Canal, so everything was like progress. They were looking around the world, and all the maps were written in French, all the cartography was written in French, kind of like the way everything is in English now. Navy, airplanes, everything's in science is in English.
Yeah,
it was kind of like that back in the day, but it was French. French was kind of like the scientific language. It was the cartography language.
Man, France, way to go.
Yeah. So they tried in 1838. They couldn't get a concession, or they couldn't build the funding. And then in the gold rush, it was a little bit before the gold rush. People had been prospecting, and throughout these times, people would always want to build a canal. They always wanted to build a canal, but they just couldn't make it happen. That's besides the point for our story today. So a group of investors in 1848 got the concession to, first of all, Aspinwall got the concession for a steam line, and then he got the concession from Colombia to build a railroad across the isthmus.
All right, and that's William Henry Aspinwall.
Right.
For those of us in the know.
There's several Aspinwalls. It's not Lord Aspinwall, who's a famous lord, just like our famous Lord Joe.
Just like me. Thank you, guys. But this Aspinwall, William Henry, was not a lord. Just era un plebeyo.
And hey, Hugo Cabrera is saying hello to Arnold Ferguson. Said Waping Alcalde. Okay, so these Colonenses that are tuned in today, that name Aspinwall, all the hair on your back of your neck must be standing up, because there are some people that to this day still call it Aspinwall. We'll get into that history. So they got the concession, Joe, right?
Right. Okay.
And in the spirit of Panama, some people were like, what? You're going to build a railroad?
Dollar signs, dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar signs. So what they did is, obviously they're going to put the Pacific terminus of the railroad near Panama City. Lógico.
Sure.
But where are they going to do on the Atlantic side? I don't know. So they're like scheming and stuff, and people started buying up land, and they figured it's either this spot or this spot. So they're like, all right, we got the two best spots. We're like, we want to sell this to you at a crazy price, or we'll sell it to you for a low price, but we want to be directors and stockholders of this enterprise. So these guys, Aspinwall, there's two other guys, I can't remember their name right now. They're like, F these guys. We're going to go straight down the middle. So they ended up putting the terminus on the island of Manzanillo.
And that was like a terrible place, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think it was discovered, the European discovery by Columbus himself. And he was like, no, kept sailing. I think
he was like, I don't like the smell of this place, man. It don't look good. I don't like it.
You found it when we did the research. We found some interesting inscriptions about the description of what Colón was before they built the railroad there.
Man, hey, so it says here that when Columbus arrived there, and I quote, covering the entire island was a dense growth of water-loving mangrove and poisonous manzanillo trees, growing out of the swamp of unfathomable ooze, which was the habitat of alligators and other huge reptiles. The air was filled with poisonous insects and heavy with the unhealthy vapors rising from the marshes. Sounds lovely.
Sounds lovely. And it was a bit prophetic there where he says, dangerous mosquitoes, right? But remember, as you guys might remember when you watched our shows about pandemics, at this time, they thought that yellow fever and malaria came from swamp gases. What is it? Sereno? El sereno?
El sereno. El sereno.
You're going to get sick with some mist. The mist is going to come.
The mist is going
touch
to come
your throat. And
mess you up.
It's sick. So,
ew.
Yeah. So, I mean, passage after passage has very derogatory things to say about this area. See, Hugo's like, wow, did Columbus discover this in 1990? What? Shots fired. So, one of the interesting ones is that, that description by Columbus tends to get repeated a lot.
For sure.
Disgustingness. So when they're going surveying, Joe, imagine this. They got to go and survey this, right? We got to figure out how the heck are we going to put a railroad on this vaina, this swamp, this mud. And when they went to survey, they had all their survey equipment held over their head, and they were shoulder deep, chest deep, and thick, stanky ass mud. So you can imagine these guys like,
man, at any given moment, they could have stepped in like a hole or something, and just that's it. You're done.
Yeah, stepped in an alligator's mouth, man.
But you were so committed to surveying, right? Man, that's amazing. I don't think in today's day and age, people would never commit to that. Never, ever.
It was a huge endeavor, building the railroad. They sunk pilings like super deep. And I know Juice is a engineer or civil engineer, something like that. That is a technical term. Super deep.
Super deep. That sounds technical.
Good deep, like bah.
Good
just
deep.
To make sure that things didn't sink. They had bridges and whatnot. And so they started a little shanty town, and they named it. It was proposed to be named Aspinwall. They're like, we're going to name it after the biggest investor, the founder of the company. And we built this city. So we built this city on rock and mud. Rock and roll. I couldn't make it work. Anyway, we built this city, and we're going to name it, Joe. So we're like,
right.
We should name it Aspinwall, right? And everyone's like, Aspinwall.
Yeah,
sure.
That's a good idea.
And there are still some hangers oners that still call it Aspinwall to this day. Very identical, but I think that was I'm going to get my dates messed up. 1890, I think it was. No, way before that. Anyway, besides the date, we can look that up later.
1850?
1850. And then in 1852, Colombia was like, no. You have the concession there. You need to name that city Colón after Cristobal Colón.
Right.
And they're like, and again, the guys from the railroad were like, we built this city. We're going to name it whatever the hell we want, man.
Hey, man. So some people called it Aspinwall.
Some people call it Colón. And Juice chimes in. He's like, about my technical terms, he's like, haha, LOL. After some icing glass, super deep. Uh-oh.
Oh, this is a family show, Juice.
Yeah. We're all blushing. So to get super deep on the terms here, on the gringos were calling it Aspinwall. The Panamanians were calling it Colón. Colón, Aspinwall, hyphenated Colón. This went on for several years until Colombia finally said, if any mail has Aspinwall anywhere on the letter, send it back. And that's when officially the town, well, not officially, but across the board, the town was known as Colón.
That's wild, man. So they put their foot down.
They put their foot down hardcore, and it took them.
That'd be like saying if your email, I don't know, man, because you couldn't do, how could you? I don't know. You can't do that with email. But somehow you were not going to get your email if it said Aspinwall.
That's right. So anything, any like you put ASP or AWOL, nothing. If it doesn't say Colón, it's not going to Colón.
Man, I would have put Aspinwall, Colón.
I would have put Lord Joe Aspinwall.
Yes, I would have gotten all my mail
Yeah, you
I'm
would
a
have gotten all my
mail
mail too.
for sure.
Yeah,
Shout.
for sure. I can't find that date in my notes, but that's okay.
That's
So
all right.
we're talking about 1860s, maybe 1870s. That's formerly known by everyone as Colón.
Mm.
So the descriptions of Colón from this era, from the late 1860s, late 1850s, are just they're not very nice, to say the least.
No, not at all.
Not at
Not
all at
at,
all.
at all, man. If I may, hold on. I had something here which I wanted to read, which really impacted me when I was reading all of this, because I was just like, what the fudge, man. So here we go. And this is when de Lesseps, this is when Count Ferdinand de Lesseps, who of course we all know, visited Colón, and it said streets barely above tide level were unpaved and strewn from end to end with garbage, bits of broken furniture, dead animals. Enormous dark buzzards circled interminably overhead, and the human populace, most of which was black Jamaicans by and large, who had been brought in to build the railroad, lived in appalling squalor, disease and poverty, hopeless bedrock poverty as bad as any to be seen in the Caribbean, seemed to hang in the air of back streets, heavy as the atmosphere.
Yeah. So
that's hard.
Essentially, it was like swamp gas, mud, stinkiness, death, no fresh water, people getting sick all the time, and anyone who, Juan David Morgan put in his thanks again, Franz. Juan David Morgan put in his book El Caballo de Oro. He said boomtown vice, tropical disease, and greed. I think he's underselling the actual condition of what Colón was at the time. There's other passages that I found that talk about ladies of the night. There's lots of prostitution. And the one where she's just leaning against the building, and the guy will come walk by, do his business, and while he's doing his business, she would empty his pockets. She would rob him, and she had her pimp standing in the alley, and if she thought that she couldn't take advantage of this guy, the pimp would just walk out and just knock the guy out, and then they kill him, rob him, and throw him in a gutter.
It was basically lawlessness.
Lawlessness.
100%.
And we talked a little bit about that in our Rand Reynolds episode.
For sure.
So you got mud, decay, unhealthiness, and a lot of people visiting Colón after visiting Chagres. They're like, a lot of the people are so lackadaisical, like they had no energy. It's because they're all sick, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. But then when you talk about so as we know, right? So these areas were super bad, super like disease everywhere. It was just terrible. But then when you talk about the northern part of the island,
that's a little further in history is when. So the boom era for the canal and Colón was during the construction of the railroad. Lots of jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And then towards Gatun is where some of the principals of the company set up their houses because it was on solid land. So then you had some time between the 1850s and when the French Canal endeavor started. And I've always wondered about this, is like Colón always had a notoriety for debauchery. Like,
right.
So some of you have Glass Street or Bottle Street, which was just where the people, if they said that stacks of bottles as high as a house, that's how much drinking was going on.
Right.
And some of the excerpts from the French endeavor is like Colón was just party central, and champagne was cheaper than water to drink, and it was safer to drink than water. So people were they're getting crunk.
Why not?
All day. It's like, hey, I'll drink champagne, dog.
For sure.
So I always wondered, and I didn't know till today the difference between. Well, I knew the difference between Colón and Cristobal, but I didn't know how it got its name. So this is where we come in with the northern side of the island. Is
Well,
The
let me tell you,
French-
man.
go for it.
Let me tell you, the French northern side of the island, HB, was a freaking paradise compared to the area that we described before, because it was pleasant. The houses faced onto white coral beach, so pristine white sand. The houses were neat, freshly painted, green lawns surround. They had palm trees around there,
Hammocks.
Like basically, if you ever wanted to live in a tropical paradise, this was it.
Right. And the French named their side of the town Christophe Colomb with a B at the end.
Oh man, that was beautiful, man. Have you been studying French?
Yeah. I kiss that way too. So that was later renamed Cristobal.
Yeah.
So you have Cristobal Colon, which is Christopher Columbus's name. There's a beautiful statue of him with his Indian slave wife in the streets of Colon. And
That is still there. You can still see that.
Still there. And so when we talk about the French era there, I said that anything that the French were generally considered by the Panamanians very favorably, in comparison with the railroad, the gringos from the railroad, which they called the Yankee Strip. So it's kind of like the precursor to the Canal Zone on each side of the railroad. Gringo City, gringos everywhere. And the one passage described that the Panamanians loved the French much more than the gringos because they bought everything at price. Like, mira, special price for you. Here's some nails. I say, oh, magnifique. I pay $15 for each nail. Bloom. They just pay whatever price was going on. Again, the champagne was flowing like wata. It was safer. Everyone's getting crunk and all kinds of debaucheries going on. Things that we can't mention on a family show like this. But do a little Googling. You'll find some descriptions of that. So.
But do you think so? Obviously, if the Americans, when they came through, if they would have been willing to purchase everything like the French were, it would have been like, oh, we love the Americans.
It's possible because I don't know. Who knows? Because I do know that when you talk about John Stevens, and not the John Stevens from the railroad, but the John Stevens from the canal, he actually broke the. People never talk about this, which is surprising to me. They never talk about how he broke the Hay Bonneville Treaty because they were supposed to buy all their supplies from Panama to boost the economy.
Yeah,
and they were like trying to sell him rotten meat at crazy prices, and he was like, "Screw this!" And that's why you have all the commissaries. That's why you have bringing in all their own supplies from elsewhere. It was because of the Juega Vivo attitude, trying to overprice things.
Do you think if the French would have had their own commissaries and all these things, they would have succeeded?
That's tough to say. What do you think? Oh my goodness, you're frisky today. Put me back down.
That's good. That means she's getting comfortable. That means she's all like, "Hey, Daddy, I'm gonna get down to business."
It's her first time in the house. Got a new dog today. I don't think so because their biggest enemy was sickness, which is the bloodborne mosquito diseases. People didn't know that. The hardest thing. But there was a description that said between the harsh environment, between the sickness, the biggest enemy is graft, which is like bribery and stuff like that.
Right.
So, the ow, dog's biting me. I think the French were doomed to failure. They had the engineering of a sea level canal and the money. They just couldn't control the money. Money's flying everywhere.
They were bad budget managers, man.
I do have to say this for the French though is they got more done with the equipment that they had. They got more done in their first year of digging than the United States did with modern equipment in their first year of digging.
France.
So, props to France.
Vive la France.
Vive la France.
Vive la France.
I don't want to talk about their game with Germany.
Hey, I don't know, man. France's, I don't know. Let's not talk about the Euro Cup because we can go down a rabbit hole. But tell me what happened when the U.S. took over.
All right, so
Tell me.
I don't have the book here, but I have a book, and it's called the Society of the Chagres Yearbook. You had to have worked on the railroad or the canal for 6 consecutive years to be part of it, and Gorgas was part of it, and one of them has a passage where he explains when he arrived to Panama. And him and his friends got wasted, and one of his engineers got arrested. So it's an entertaining tale. But
you know what I love it? Pause. I'm going to pause you right there because you know why? Because these are all people that when we speak about them in more sort of like serious settings, we'll be like, oh yeah, Gorgas. And Nevertheless, they like to have fun. So it reinforces that fun is essential to proper living. Essential.
Here. I think I had gotten. We talked about one of the passages from these books that I really liked, where the guy's like, everyone else talks really bad about the canal, but I liked it. He has very fond recollections of it. Shaler, of course, he loved Colón, and he was very fond of the Panamanians. Was very, very. He was very ingrained with the Panamanians, and he helped with the independence of Panama from Colombia.
No doubt.
So we're talking about Gorgas. My goodness, I think we already spent a whole show describing the lengths that he went to in identifying in Cuba and in England. There were several theories about how mosquitoes carried yellow fever and malaria.
Yep.
And that started in Cuba, which is an amazing story in and of itself. So they had identified that yellow fever was carried through mosquitoes and a specific breed of mosquitoes. And when they came to Panama to start the canal, they paved and put sanitation everywhere. And
key. That's a major key.
Key. That was instrumental in the success of the canal. So that gives you a little insight about how difficult it was to set up the railroad. A lot of people died. A lot of estimates say that one person died for each stake in a rail, which is a ridiculous statement. It's completely overblown, but there are 160,000 stakes in the railroad, but there at any given time there's only 6,000 employees. So that's a complete embellishment, but they say that just to let people know how hard it was to set up the railroad in Panama.
And it's very interesting. It's very interesting that you mentioned that, my friend, because, obviously setting up the railroad, hard times, loads of people died. Setting up the canal, hard times, loads of people died. So the amount of people that lost their lives for the benefit of Panama is like,
yeah. And
we're here where we are right now because of all these people that died.
Absolutely. There's the first laborers were brought in from China. China just finished their first opium war, and they sent over, I think it was, the first 2 ships, like a third, they sent 200 people over, and then they sent a second ship with 300 people. And like the first ship, 60 people died. The second ship, 97 people died. And then they sent in a third ship with some 3,000 people on it, and less people died on there. But during the building of the railroad, they cut off the supply of opium to the workers, and some 500 workers committed suicide
because of the lack of opium.
Well, I mean, they were taking opium because they're covered in swamp grossness. They're far away from home. They're missing their family members. The conditions were just completely inhospitable, and they chose to take their life. That's how grievous it was. And from that point, they started bringing Jamaican workers in to work on the canal because they thought that they were more acclimated to the environment of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in theory, it seems like it would make sense. Nevertheless, they were still living in ridiculously harsh conditions upon arrival.
There's a old Harper's magazine where you can Google it, it's interesting because it has that old-timey type English reporting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reporter had come down here to see the progress of the construction of the railroad, which again was world news. I mean, I think history has forgotten Panama, but back in the day, Panama was super popular.
I mean, because all the what is it, the 49ers, the people that were traveling to the U.S. to get the gold, they were coming through Panama, man. So if you were in that, and I mean, if you weren't, you were a loser.
Yeah.
You had to come through Panama, man.
You're Oregon Trail and cholera.
That's right.
Yeah, so all those, like most of the people on the East Coast or on the West Coast knew Panama, and then when they decided to go home, everyone had their memories and stories and tales of Panama.
Hey, man, and coming to Panama was a trip, man. It was a trip. Because, I mean, if you didn't die in Panama while trying to make it over to the western part of the U.S., you were going to get some gold.
For sure.
It was
Michelle
meant to
Kuo chiming in. She's like, I highly recommend the Sancocho Talks podcast to anyone curious about Johnny Cakes and icing glass.
You heard it here first. Sancocho Talks podcast. I have no idea what Johnny Cakes is, but I'm going to find out.
I think it's just coconut bread. Pan de coco.
Coconut bread. There we go. HB just told me, so I already know where it is.
I'm guessing. So back to the Harper's thing, they were talking about the conditions, and again, the description, and that they're trying to be nice, but between the lines, they're talking about this place is awful. They're talking about how the Carthaginians were beheading the Chinese workers, and I was like, Carthaginian? This is the wrong continent. What are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And for years, that perplexed me until I was sitting in a friend's office, and he had a French map. He had a map, and like I said, the maps were all written in French. So Cartagena was Carthagine in French.
All right.
So Carthaginians were the black freed slaves from South America working on the railroad. And so there was a lot of fighting between the workers. It was just, I mean, they should definitely do, you have shows like Deadwood and the Iron Horse, like on AMC and stuff. They should definitely do one about the Panama Railroad, because that would make for some good TV. And they should hire some nice Panamanian actors like Lord Joe and HB.
Thank you, my friend. Yes, I think so. Because we're people that enjoy Panamanian history. My friend, you asked me to not let you. I realize we're at 4:12 and there's so much we could talk about.
Okay.
Rapscallions. You asked me to not allow you to not mention the Hotel Washington.
Ah, beautiful. All right, so
take us there, because it's a location that is still there in Colón to this day.
It is still there. Now, we're talking about the popularity. Okay, so before you talk about finding places to sleep, and because there's so many people moving through there, they could rent you some shithole for $3 a night, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the popularity of Panama has its ebbs and flows. The railroad era, the French era. Now we're talking about the U.S. construction era.
Mm-hmm.
And the United States had built the Tivoli on the Pacific coast. And for a government operation, they were actually making money, which is unheard of for any government operation. So they decided that they were going to go big. They're like, we need to build a hotel on the Caribbean coast. And so what they did is they built a Washington Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It was it kept the Spanish hacienda style, so they said it was cool all the time. You had ocean breezes coming up. A lot of travel poets and travel writers would write such amazing things about the Washington. They said anywhere from Mexico down to the tip of South America, this is the finest hotel in of the region.
Like, a lot of effort was put into this.
Oh yeah, I mean, they and it was $1 a night. So before in the railroad era, which is some 50 years earlier, paying $3 a night for a cot in a straw hut, and there's mud everywhere, mosquitoes everywhere. So now you have the Washington Hotel. You're paying $1 a night. That includes some service, and then you have your dining, which is included. I mean, top-notch dining. My dad always told me how much fun he had in the swimming pool at the Washington Hotel. It was a saltwater pool. So there was a little plug in there, and they let the salt water in. And when the tide goes out, you want to empty it. You just take the plug out, and that's how you recycle the water there. Yeah, unfortunately, that pool's not there anymore. They filled it in. Yeah, but the Washington Hotel is still in Colón. Last time I was there, or not the last time, when my dad passed away, we took his ashes to Colón and Coco Solo in the Caribbean, and we stopped by the Washington Hotel. It's seen better days, but there's definitely a very positive spirit in that building. My grandmother was married there to Henry Beltwee the first. I'm the third.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. I think definitely every time I visit Colón, usually I visit Colón maybe once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in 2020, I didn't go because of the pandemic. Hopefully, I can go in 2021. But I think one of the things that always surprises me, because I always kind of pass by the Hotel Washington, and now there's a casino there, typical things that you would expect to see in a hotel these days.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of like, man, you can tell just by looking at it, like this hotel was an amazing place back in the day. And I think, if somebody were to or some business entity, enterprise, person, whatever, to lift it back up to what it used to be back in the golden days, because Colón in su apogeo was happening, man.
It was the last stop before Rio, man. It was the Gold Coast, a beautiful place, lots of attractions, lots of talented musicians playing.
It was the place to be.
It was a place to be. It was happening.
The place to be seen, the place to be heard. I mean, everybody who was anybody was stopping by Colón, especially because of the importance of the canal, right? People were just like, oh my God, the canal is so amazing. I can't wait to see it.
And, in Panama, historically, the Colón and Panama City are considered the two major cities, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting because when I first moved to Panama, of course, I moved to David. And then I remember somebody asking me hey, which is the second big? I didn't know anything. I had been here for a month. They were like, which is the second biggest city in Panama? And then to this, I think if you ask people to this day, which is the second most important city in the country after Panama City, there is a huge divide between David and Colón.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely right.
I don't know.
It's true. And I always wondered growing up, I was like, how come Colón wasn't the capital of the Isthmus? Juice chimes in. He's like, best carnivals were in El Town back in the day. Oh, so carnivals in Colón, my goodness. You have the Congo Queens. And we did a whole episode about carnavals. That was a fun show.
For sure.
Oh, we got one vote. Colón is greater than David.
Oh man,
beat this. Okay, Rich, which one's hotter? Which one has more heat?
Temperature wise, I'm gonna go with David.
You're right. That's the hottest place on earth, man.
Yes. I will go with David. Nevertheless, speaking of hotness, there was a verse. Hold on, no, I can't find it. Hold on, you're gonna have to give me a moment because there was a poem about Colón. There's so many things that have been said about Colón. Which
lots of poetry too.
A lot of poetry, man. And if there's one thing rapscallions love, it's the rhymes.
It's lyrics, rhymes.
So I'm trying to see here. So it says here. So it says the bard of the. Did you know we had a bard? James S. Gilbert.
Oh yeah.
The poet of Panama. First time I heard about him was prepping for today's show. I don't know if maybe you knew about him.
I read excerpts of his poetry, but I never really dug in until this week.
Man, so check this out. He had a poem which depicts a wayfarer at the gate of heaven confessing to high crimes, right? So somebody who's at the gates of heaven, he's all like, oh yeah. So at the close of the confession, he whispered something into the ear of the saint. So who's the saint that waits for you at the gates of heaven? Saint Peter. He's there. So the keeper of the keys, Saint Peter, according to the poet, cried. So this is St. Peter talking to the person who's trying to get into heaven. He says, climb up, oh weary one, climb up, climb higher yet, until you reach the plush-lined seats that only martyrs get. then sit you down and rest yourself while years of bliss roll on. Then to the angels he remarked, he's been to Colón.
Boom.
Hard. That's hard.
Speaking of lyricists, Juice chimes in. He says, Nando Boom never said de la capital to David. He always said de la capital to Colón.
Truth.
Yeah.
Truth.
So we got another one for Colón.
Hey, if anybody wants to chime in defending David, go ahead, please. We're waiting.
Yeah. We'll just moment of silence for David, please.
Moment of silence. You got to pour a little bit on the concrete.
Yeah, it'll just evaporate.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about Colón City. We're talking about. So let's get into the Canal era.
Hotel Washington, right? This is when Colón was like bumping.
It's bumping. It's like this is
boom,
like
you're making it
famous around the world. If you've been to Colón, you're like a very cosmopolitan person. So then you have.
Like, have you been to Paris? No, but I've been to Colón. They're like,
Colón.
Oh snap!
I've been to the Gold Coast. What is it?
That's
Casita
right.
de Oro.
That's right.
Which is one of the frustrating things for me is a lot of the expats that have retired to the Coronado area have renamed that area the Gold Coast. I'm like, no. Wait. Colón is the Gold Coast. Thank you very much. Stop with that foolishness.
Maybe I think because these expats don't know. They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
I don't think they do.
They don't.
So you have things going on. You have ups and downs in Colón. We're still in the early 1920s, I think, when they started the Hotel Washington. And that's the golden era of Colón. You have beautiful nightclubs. The streets are you still see remnants of that classical style in Colón, driving up and down the streets. The old watch face in the middle of the traffic, the palm trees. It's when you go there now, you see the ghosts of what a beautiful place that was. Here we go. Tagaropolis, aka El Rey Supermarkets, started in Colón. And Arnold says, I saw a report where there are escape routes under the Hotel Washington, or was it the school? We're moving forward a little bit. We're jumping forward to escape routes. We're talking about World War II era, and there was a submarine base in Cocosolo, which is super interesting because you go there now, submarine base is like super technical,
Yeah, man.
My grandfather, Kepke, was a captain in charge of Cocosolo. So my dad got to visit the submarine bases in Cocosolo. He's like, the way he described it to me, he said it's unimaginable. It's just this place, the submarines come in underwater and then they come up in this
dome or something, right?
Yeah, in this building or this underground building, or it's built into the ground. That was all demolished after World War II, from what I understand.
That's amazing.
But I mean, Colón isn't that big, to tell you the truth. So to think that there was a submarine base there kind of blows my mind. And then you have all the surrounding military bases. Galita, I think, is up towards the right. And
I've been there, yeah. And that's not like a Smithsonian research. Punta Galeta.
So just to take a few steps, let's go back to the 20s.
Let's go back to the 1920s, dog. Back to the 1920s.
So Colón is like, when you see Casablanca and all stylish people and stuff like that, that's what Colón was like. It was beautiful, man.
Man, if you see images of Colón in the 1920s, freaking groomed lawns. You had beautiful boulevards where you could cruise in your cars, benches everywhere, beautiful buildings, architecture on point. It was a place to be, Colón, man. If you were a movie star, you were like Panama City. Never that. I'm going to Colón. Right.
Truth. So this is the golden era of Colón. And then we're going to get into 29. Well, we got to go through the Prohibition era, which, as we mentioned very briefly at the beginning of the show, the canal was under U.S. law, so they had to enforce Prohibition. But if you're in Cristobal, you just say, oh, now I can drink. Now I can't drink. Now I can drink. Now I can't drink. You just had to cross the street. And
somebody would hand you a drink. They'd be like, here you go, rum and coke.
Yeah, you just you just have your hand.
Military police would roll up like, hey. They'd be like, what?
You just jump to the So this made it extra fun for the people who are transiting the canal. They're like, wait, shore leave, man, let's do this. Like, crazy fun times. Again, I think there's positives and negatives. I'd like to focus more on the positives. Is that
for sure?
That type of environment led to a lot of nightlife, which gave a lot of opportunity to musicians to flourish. So I think that's one of the things that helped Colón become such a nest of talent and is actually having an audience. We got to fill up these clubs. We need the finest musicians. So you just can't have some chump off the street playing some ghastly music. No. You need some good music. And having that available audience allowed the musicians to flourish. The natural talent was able to come out. So on the negative side of all that, maybe you had some activities going on there that might have been frowned upon, kind of like the people in New Orleans are like, God, get all these college kids out of here after Mardi Gras. You know what I mean?
Hey, but who knows? Maybe in 100 years, we're going to be talking about, well, we're not, because we're going to be dead. Or maybe not. Who knows?
I'm going to live forever.
Rapscallions live forever, yo. But maybe people will be talking about Mardi Gras will be like, yo, the historical significance of Mardi Gras and the amount of artists that came through.
It's true. You think of the music in New Orleans, my goodness.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, every moment in history has inspired someone in some way in the future.
My dad actually told me that the phrase dog and pony show comes from Colón.
Why? Were there a lot of dog and ponies in Colón?
It was an event at the nightclubs where the women would do everything, including a dog and a pony.
Oh, wow.
So we have the good side, and we have the slimy underbelly.
Slimy underbelly, man. Everyone has one.
Yeah.
Everyone has one.
And so we're talking about Prohibition era.
Tell us more.
So we had the French doing their debaucherous stuff. I just found that out like yesterday. I always thought that it was the Prohibition era that kind of started that relationship between debaucherous party. I thought that was all the gringos, but apparently the French, they just blew it off the hook too.
Right.
So then you get into Prohibition era. We talked about Amy, where she started drinking. She actually sued Max Bill Gray over these postcards that he sent everywhere.
I thought it was about the drink. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she denied it. And so they sued him, and he just got super famous worldwide. He's like, what are they suing me for? I didn't do anything wrong. I just served a drink. It's totally legal. She's the one that got drunk, so he became super world famous. And then we have the stock market crash of 29, which was like the beginning of a worldwide crisis. So it was a little fade there in the shine and of Colón City. And then you have the World War II era, which you have just a huge influx of U.S. military, which
for sure
on one side you have a lot of input into the economy of Colón, but on the negative side, there's definitely lots of clashing going on between the U.S. servicemen and the Panamanians. So I think that's kind of when the disfavor for the gringos and the canal started growing.
During World War II.
Opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of when it got to a head.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of people have asked me there's definitely a decline in Colón when you have all these amazing stories about Colón. Where did it start to turn south? Because, in World War II, there's definitely a lot of money going through that place.
Oh, for sure. I always thought that Colón. I guess if we talk about it from today's perspective, I was always kind of like, man, considering everything that's happened there, it's very disappointing. And then someone told me once, I forget who it was, they said Colón started going south when the Americans had to leave, 1999. And I was always like, how interesting. Is that true?
It started going south way before that.
Right? Okay.
So one of the things that I've always held to is that the building of the Bridge of the Americas, what that did is it focused more expansion on the Pacific coast.
Okay.
And Colón kind of got kept in the hindsight, right? And then talking to France today, he was like, "Oh, don't forget, there was a 1955 treaty where the U.S. turned over Juice is chiming in. He says, not old infrastructure. He said, when FDR stopped maintaining Colón in 1943, I believe. Interesting.
Wow. So it goes way back.
Yeah. Let's get back to what Franz had told me. Is like there's a treaty in 1955 where the U.S. ceded New Cristobal, Colón Beach, Cristobal High School, and the Colón Hospital, the Hotel Washington, and Fort de Lesseps, as well as the slaughterhouse and the dairy plant, Mount Hope, to Panama. And then a lot of jobs were lost when that happened. So before that treaty was signed, the Motas were given the concession for the Hotel Washington.
All right.
And then you have a big loss of jobs in Colón as the U.S. had turned over these facilities to Panama, and we're slowly retreating from the area in 1957. And then in 1958 is when those areas were declared a free trade zone, which up until recently, I believe, was the second largest free trade zone in the world after Hong Kong.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. My friend, HB, I want to take a quick moment right now as we do a pause.
Yes.
Because we have a couple of things that we got to push, man. First and foremost, we got to push our website, man.
Yeah.
Panama RP stands for Rapscallions Productions, RP. If you don't know, Republic of Panama, RP, Panama RP. You can get loads of amazing things there. One-stop shop for Rapscallions things. We're putting all these shows on a podcast. It's going to be a podcast mode. You guys can listen to it while you're driving. You guys can listen to it while you're on a plane, while you're in Spain, while you're on a train. It doesn't matter. You can listen
even
to
when
it.
it rains.
Even when it rains. You can also get some goodies, man, like these bags. Check this out. Or those shirts. Right there, man. You can get those shirts. We have some new shirts that HB and I will be modeling next week. When we do a show together, you guys are going to be like, I didn't know you guys had so much merch. You're going to see it.
Another thing, we gotta pimp the contest too.
We got to pimp the contest without a doubt, man. Rapscallions enter the contest. My Road Cast. You guys got to go. I'll give them the website. I'll give them the website. If you guys got to vote for Rapscallions. We entered a contest with Rode to get some fresh gear so we can make our show even better. Some fresh Rode
mixers,
gears,
microphones, headphones, sweet
all
gear,
those
man.
things. Sweet gear to make our show even better for you guys. We're the only entry from Panama. So you guys got to go to myroadcast.com/listen/entry/4410. That's myroadcast.com/listen/entry/4410.
We'll also be putting that on our Rapscallions page. I'm going to put it in the comments right now, so you guys don't have any excuses why you didn't vote for us.
Hey,
give it a listen.
Go. Yes. Go there. Check it out. Give us a vote. Share it with your friends. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with your dog. Share it with
your
everyone
auntie.
you know. Shout out to Auntie, man. We need votes because we want to make this show bigger and better for you guys so we can get the best information out there to all of you. I'm going to repeat that one more time, HB. It's myroadcast.com/listen/entry/4410. And if you go there, you can vote. Rapscallions, only entry from Panama.
Panama represent, baby.
No doubt. So we need all 4 million souls in Panama.
That's right.
Plus all the people living outside of Panama.
All those abroad as well.
Vote for us, man. Trying to do some big things, Rapscallions.
Rapscallions.
Hey,
2021.
We'll take you guys with us. Wherever we go, we'll take you with us.
We've got some comments. We've got some Panama RP. That's our base of operations. We're going to be expanding that website. You can find all the little buttons if you want to look at our stuff. Instagram, Mars Rover. You can buy T-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to be expanding the merch too.
No doubt.
Keep an eye on that.
No doubt.
We got tons of comments, man. Lots of audience participation today. Love that. So Juice is talking about cold storage across from PCC Industrial Division. PCC made their own food from the cold storage building. Gulick, Coco Solo, Fort Randolph, Fort Davis, Fort Sherman, Galita Point. So, where are we going next?
Question. Is that cold storage location the same place that is now the prison in Colón? Or is it a different location? Is that Nueva
Send that out to the
Esperanza?
public.
I don't know. Someone let us know what used to take place, because I've heard we're currently in the 1940s, right? We're in World War II.
Yeah.
However, we want to know the current prison in Colón, Nueva Esperanza. From what I've heard, I've never been. I've heard terrible place. However, we've heard that back in the day, it was like a dairy processing plant.
Yes, it is.
A bakery.
Juice just confirmed.
Amazing. That's one of my top 10 places to visit in Panama.
And right next door, you have the Mount Hope Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's like a weird trip down memory lane going to Colón, seeing how the roads kind of curve to the wrong way. You know, they were never updated for driving on the right side of the street, which happened in the 40s, by the way. And my dad had so many fond memories of Colón, and he told me so many wonderful stories about Colón. I didn't spend much time there because I grew up during the dictadura, and when I did go to Colón, it was sad. It was very sad. Tears would come to my eyes when we took his ashes there to visit his hometown. I was going to walk into Coco Solo and the cops wouldn't let me go into it.
No?
No. Coco Solo it's the housing area, so you have a lot of government promises recently talking about what they're going to do for Colón. All of them have not been completed. Conan Herring, a good friend of the show, he's the one that makes the howler monkey sauce. His family is from Colón, but from the railroad era. That's where I got these wonderful yearbooks. They were selling some of their houses. I can't remember the name of one of the main houses in Colón, which they always talk about refurbishing, was actually owned by his grandfather. And it was eventually just burned it down, and the government never paid his family for it. So, and the street repair is half finished. It's never been completed. You have two, huge ports there. The cruise lines have their southern ports in Panama, in the Caribbean, and yet Colón is just overlooked. So it's very demoralizing and very sad. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I think just thinking about, the amount of promotion that was given to Colón 2000. Remember how everyone was talking about Colón 2000, the ultimate terminal for ports and all that stuff. and the cruise ships that you have coming through here, you know. I mean, prior to the pandemic, you had cruise ships going through there nonstop. You would have thought some of that money would have gone into the city, right?
I know from my personal experience, yeah, you definitely think that. And again, every presidency, when they're campaigning, they promise Colón, we're gonna bring it back to its former glory. It never happens. One of the things that I have noticed on my travels there is the way that the Colonenses treat tourists. You know, they're very welcoming and they're very helpful. So that's a very positive note that the Colón 2000 and people who do get off the train in Colón, I think people in Colón understand. It's like if we don't take care of the tourists, then the government's never going to follow through.
Yeah, it's curtains.
So it's become a little more. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. It feels a little less shady walking through the streets of Colón nowadays than it did for me, let's say 94, 95.
Yeah. Because I think it's one of those things where you're like, how do we prosper? We can't prosper if we're seen as a very dangerous location to visit. Yeah. If people don't want to come here, how are we gonna live?
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's important, it's key, and it's good that people recognize that, man.
Definitely. And you know, Colón's not going to go away. It needs the attention that it deserves. Again, I don't want to throw any shade on David, Joe, but it's an important city, man.
No, for sure. And I was just going to ask you, one of the main things that was coming to mind, you know, you speaking about it, and Juice, who's watching in, you know, all the people that are watching in. What was it like, you know, coming up, you know, when it was still Canal Zone, you know, and Colón was in the Canal Zone, and what was it like growing up there and going there and just enjoying it?
Well, I think like, Juice predicted your question. He said, because I was running them streets in 94, 95.
Oh, snap.
I can tell you, like, on my side, while Juice is typing, I'm going to tell you from my side, it was always really fun to go to the jamborees in Cristobal, and it was always fun to go play soccer on the other side. And you guys are the other side, by the way. It was always fun to do the cayuca in Gatun, and then of course you make your excursions down to Colón. Oh man, I don't know. It's
like, did you guys ever feel? Did you guys? Because I remember last time when I went to San Lorenzo a couple years ago, I went with Kelly, and you know, we drove. You know how there's a little bridge that goes through the locks of the canal. Super special. I've never done that before. I was like, whoa,
yeah, it's
crazy. Cool. And then going through the different, there was like a area there where you could tell there were homes, but now it's all just like desolate, right? But it's on this beautiful beach, which is right next to the canal. And then Kelly used to tell me, like, oh yeah, when we were kids, we used to come over here and we'd stay in these houses and, you know, spend some time here, and it was good times and it was wonderful. But now all that stuff is just like terrible conditions. Terrible conditions. And then in my mind, I'm always like, man, being able to be a kid here, to be a teenager here, to, you know, just grow up here must have been an incredible experience. It must have been so safe and amazing. And none of the stories that people tell you of Colón, like, as I said, when I got to know Colón, it was like 2001 when I was doing Cayuco. And it was just like, don't go into the city of Colón. It's so dangerous. You're going to die.
Yeah. Juice has written some comments. He's like, Colón in the 90s was the crack era. The decay was in place. So
wow.
That kind of goes along with you know, that's where those stories. But he says, but for me, I couldn't ask for a better place living in a town that is. Yeah, I mean, I'd never lived there, but, you know, I grew up with my parents who were Colonense, my grandmother, and their stories of Colón were just magical, you know. The visiting Colón is bittersweet, and it's kind of demoralizing, but knowing the history and knowing what a beautiful place it was still keeps it beautiful, you know, even though the decay is there and the progress isn't happening the way that it's promised, but It's still there, man. We got to do something.
What do you think is going to happen for the future of Colón? Because there's been like a whole lot of talk of restoration projects, and they're trying to move people from the decaying buildings that are in the center of Colón to like specific buildings that are not in the center but away from the center, where they can have access to everything they need. And then there's like a lot of maquetas coming up of Colón looking like Casco Viejo. I don't know. Do you think, HB, or Juice, any of the people listening, that this is actually something that's going to happen? Or is it just, just like...
I think all that stuff went down the tube when the pandemic hit. Because,
right?
Oh, we got another Renee rally. Renee, thanks for tuning in. She said, it was amazing when I was a kid. Loved when Santa would come through Gatun on a fire truck.
What? That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I was in the Canal Zone side, and Juice is like gentrification like here in the States. So, yeah, I mean, I live in Casco Viejo, and I've been there for 11 years. So
you've seen the transformations that has happened there, right?
For sure. On the one side, you're going to lose a lot. If it happens the way it happened in Santa Ana or San Felipe, you're going to lose a lot of the romance. But I mean, I'm here lamenting. I'm lamenting right now the state of Colón, but also what is the price of progress? I want Colón to be beautiful like it once was. I can tell you that the transformation of Casco Viejo or San Felipe has been, when I first moved there, it still had the romance of the artist. You had painters on the street. You had pickup bands, people playing music, just wonderful music that they'd written. And now the price of rent is so expensive that you just have like elevator jazz playing,
Right.
So
right.
It's that transformation from what Casco was to what it is now, where it looks very nice, but some of the romance, a lot of the romance has been lost.
Right. And do you think that's going to happen to Colón then? I mean,
if they follow some of the plans, well, I don't know. I like to think positive. I think something actually does need to be done.
Yeah.
Colón is very special. Restoring Colón is difficult because their infrastructure. I mean, if you're not at sea level, you're below sea level. So
right, and we know what that can mean.
Aguacero, man.
Yeah.
It just wants me to play the piano. I'll go to Colón and tap on the ivories, baby.
Dude, tap all night long. Tap, tap, tap. Tippity tap, tap. Man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Just because you do it's very interesting because I think people from Colón are very proud to be from Colón.
Oh, definitely.
Most definitely, without a doubt. You see the cetres everywhere. You see all the influential people that have come from Colón. You see so much. Colón has given so much to the country, national pride. Yet you feel that it's still sort of forgotten, yet there are so many also amazing locations which are being developed in Colón to go and visit. Because like what you said about the Bridge of the Americas, right? When the Bridge of the Americas popped up, people were like, I'm going to go to the Pacific. I'm going to go to all these places on the Pacific side.
I'm going to go to David.
I'm going to go to David and sweat all day. But, Colón, if you think about it, using the Corredor Norte is super close.
It is.
You can get
and there's a new bridge. Hello.
And there's a new bridge, which I haven't visited yet. It's on my list.
Me neither. It's on my to-do list. Hey, if you guys want to see the Rapscallions do a road trip to Colón, go to PanamaRP.com. There's a Patreon button. There's a Buy Me a Coffee button. We'll go to Colón all day long. We'll frolic in the Caribbean waters. We'll eat all those delicious foods, man. What are you going to order? Joe, what are you going to order when you get to Colón?
Oh, my gosh. I want to try this Johnny cake.
You want Johnny cakes?
I want Johnny cakes because I don't know what it is now. If you say it's coconut bread, I don't care. I want to try it.
You're just going to eat that.
And then I'm just going to be like,
and this is what I'm going to eat. I'm going to get pulpo al Caribe, which is like a coconut sauce.
Oh, man.
On top of coconut rice. And then on the side, I'm going to get patacones with garlic on it.
Oof, that sounds amazing.
We're getting y'all haven't visited the new bridge. What WTF?
I
Hey,
know.
man.
Visit PanamaRP.com.
Yeah, press that button. Bling, 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 bling.
Seriously, it's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. The pandemic, I got a lot of shady reports out of Colón. See, Dan Norman's listening. He's like, HB, I have the guide for you while you do the road show. Belleza. Yeah, that was fun in Colón when me and Danny went to check out the expansion. Por un cuara. Russ. Hey, they just raised the price of diesel, man. Come on. Hey, ustedes los gringos deberían pasar la plata. ¿Qué pasó?
Pasa la plata, loco. Pasa la plata. La vaina está dura.
Está dura, crisis.
Hey, Dan, pass over that contact, man, because we got to hit Colón up. Road trip, Colón style. You guys know how it is. We'll be over there. Visit all the places, man. We'll visit the submarine hangar.
The next time my friend comes through, he comes through Casco Viejo selling icing glass, I'm going to record him so you guys can hear this wonderful belly. Icing glass. And the sound waves go all the way through the town. I live in the back of the building with double pane glass, and
Hey man, he knows how to project like a true actor.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, man. All right, we got 9 minutes left. Does anyone in the crowd have any topics or any questions about Colón? Besides how much you guys are going to donate to the Rapscallions so we can do our road show in Colón. We're talking about one pot. Are you guys talking about like the Chinese one pot or is it something different?
One pot.
Guille Gomez. That's right.
Delicious.
We got the contact.
One pot. You know who does the amazing one pot? I think they do an amazing one pot. La Tapa del Coco here in Panama City. They really do a great job doing these Caribbean dishes, man.
They do. Their sauce, by the way, isn't hot enough, but it is very delicious. And they actually they have the alga. They have the seaweed, so you can buy the seaweed and make your own. You can make your own icing glass. Oh my goodness! Everyone's talking about Colón one pot. They're like field trip. We're gonna go do a field trip. Juice is talking about Colón one pot. Francois is talking about Colón one pot. Juice says that he's gonna order rabito, bacalao, and camarón. Come around. That's the one with the fish on top. That's the soup, right?
That's the soup. Listen, you guys gotta come down to Panama. We'll rent a little bus. Rapscallions road trip, Colón, and we'll hit up all your favorite spots with the amazing commentary, courtesy of the Rapscallions.
We'll do a bullet point of places that we have to visit and foods that we have to eat, so that we can hit all those hot spots. Michelle saying the chef owner of La Tapa del Coco is one of the hosts on the Sancocho Talks podcast.
All right. Okay. Very talented cook, that man.
We're gonna have a Famscallions road trip. Everyone's in on this.
For sure. Whether you like to or not, we're gonna go pick you up at the airport when you arrive, and we're gonna kidnap you and take you to Colón. Happening.
Belleza. I love it.
It's happening.
Hey,
yeah,
we just got a donation on Rapscallions. We need to come up with the little buttons where the fireworks go off. Thank you for your donation, Francois. Where are the rest of you cheap asses? Hard salesmanship.
Oh my God, we appreciate you just because you're listening. But remember to tell people to listen in, share. We're trying to do good things, big things. Go to the myroadcast.com.
Yeah, help us out.
4410.
We're having a good time. We love that you guys are here doing your participation. You guys we can always count on you to tune in and throw in your commentary. If you can't donate, share it so other people can check us out, and maybe they'll get hooked in, man. Mm-hmm. Joe and I definitely have a lot of fun, not only talking to each other and talking with you guys, but we're on episode 50. Next week we're going to do a show together because we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the show. And then episode 52 is going to be the week after that. So for 1 year, we've been doing interesting stuff like we did today. And we were just reflecting the other day about how much we've learned by doing the research to prepare for these shows.
Seriously, I think it's incredible how little one knows about the history of Panama, the impact Panama has had on the world. I think just even imagining, HB and I did a road trip to Toboga a couple of weeks ago, and just seeing these locations, seeing pieces of history that were still available today. And it kind of helps you to understand the magnitude of what was going on during that time, considering the restrictions that were in place for people to travel to places. If you want to get from the eastern part of the U.S. to the western part of the U.S., you have to come to Panama. How ridiculous is that, considering that now in the U.S., you can take a plane, you can take a train, you can drive. But Panama was still the safest location for people to do that. And they had to, Toboga was in it. There were so many different specific places in Panama where something truly tragic could have happened to your life.
Yeah. And you said it at the beginning of the show, just the amount of historic things that have happened in Panama on this little tiny strip of land.
Mm-hmm.
History has somehow focused on Panama. Panama has changed the world on several occasions. It's been the epicenter of change for the entire world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that is what we're trying to bring to light, my friend.
Yeah. Laughing and learning. We want to share these interesting things that we find out. And if any of you guys, besides the road trip, that's in the future, baby.
No doubt. Because you know what? Eventually all these COVID restrictions are going to go away. And we're going to be able to do loads of things.
That's right.
And that's what we're going to do.
I think we need to recap a little bit. Hugo Cabrera, aka Juice, is asking, where did Rasu donate? Joe, tell him.
PanamaRP.com. That's www.PanamaRP.com. That's our official base of operations, man. Everything Rapscallions will forever find it on that website. If you go on there, you can buy us a coffee, you can buy us a drink, you can buy us whatever you want. Just click on the link.
You guys what? You drink 3 coffees a day at $5? Hey, 1 week, just drink one less coffee. $5, man. Special price for you.
And we're going to do big things. And also remember to go to My Roadcast. You can go there, find Rapscallions.
I'm going to share that link once again. Seems people have got some plantain tarts in their ears.
Plantain tarts, man. All you got to do is vote. Vote, share it with your friends, share it with your aunt, share it with your dog, share it with your kids. Tell them to vote, man. Have the whole family vote. It'll be a family affair. My Roadcast.
Danny Norman says, good show, guys. See you on the next side. Aska, right? That's what you Atlantic Siders say, right? ASKA, Aska. Hugo Cabrera says, donar un cuara, un dime. Inflation, loco. You're talking 1990s. Un cuara. Chuso, man. Crisis, loco.
Crisis, pandemia.
And Arnold Ferguson says, Michelle necesita 2 pasaportes. Uno por Panamá y uno para Colón. That's true.
Man, Colón's going to separate too like that, like Chiriquí. Oh, snap.
Cuara, dime. Times 10, loco.
No doubt.
All right, it's 4:58. Joe, give us your inspiring talk to close the show.
Man, HB, you know what I've been thinking about? Well, we've been talking about Colón. I've been thinking about, rising to overcome opposition, man. And it seems to me like Colón is a province, it's a place that has always had to rise to the occasion. And considering the amount of artistic, influential, inspiring people that have come out of Colón, I think we should all strive to be as inspiring as possible, even within our own lives, man. Because sometimes things may seem hard, things may seem difficult, but we should always strive to be the best that we can be, man. And I think if Colón does the same, man, it'll go back to its glory days, my friend. So I think today's word is inspire. And aspire. Just be what you got to be, man. Be good.
I love it. Well done, Joe.
Thank you, my friend.
Lots, so much history. We have so much fun passing it to you guys. It's so wonderful to see you guys chiming in and helping us spread some history, get the facts straight, donate, buy a shirt, go share one of the episodes that you like, and then PanamaRP.com. Vote for us on the roadcast. We still got an active commentary. Quara Quara, Dime Dime, Be Like Me, Lot of Mercy. All kinds of good commentary there on the website. And when we close the show, I want you guys to listen to the song. It's Lord Cobra's Colón Colón, one of my favorite calypso songs.
Beautiful. And
he sings it in English and in Spanish. So there's your answer where Rega en Español came from. The Calypsonians from Colón.
That's right.
So damn hot, I got nothing but to perspire now. Well, we're gonna drop you off at the end of the trip, Arno. We're gonna drop you off in David. Your sneakers are gonna melt to the pavement.
You can see that real hot.
Real hot. All right, 5:00. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Fam Scallions. We're tuning out. Make sure to tune in next weekend, next Sunday, 3 p.m. Panama time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna have our 1-year anniversary, and Joe and I are gonna be in the same room. So there's going to be some mad antics going on. Thank you, Fam Scallions. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Colón, Colón,
Colón, Colón.
vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
This is an invitation, one and all. Come back to Colón in the days of Judge Brian or Big Jimmy. They used to call Colón the windy city.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
Pasar del mundo en el corazón del universo. Puede pasar su fin de semana en Palmas Feas o Playa Langosta.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
If you really want to have some fun, just come to Colón. You can play the Johnny Key, the best in Windy City.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
¡Ale! Nosotros los colonenses somos buena gente. El presidente también, él es colonense.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
This is the tune. Young and old must jump and shake bone. Deaf bound to hear, the dumb bound to talk. The motor footman is bound to walk.
Colón, 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 Colón. Vengan para Colón, 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 Colón. Tienes un poquitín más de atención.
We need a little attention. I want you to understand. We from Colón, we always get in the Colón.
Colón, 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 Colón.
Yes,
Vengan para Colón,
everybody.
Colón.